Good evening, everyone. I hope you all had a great Tuesday. Thank you all for joining our physical well-being webinar series presented by Affinity Federal Credit Union. Today's topic is part three, longevity, living a long and healthy life. My name is Nicholas Mataliano, and I am the Wellbeing Communication Specialist here at Affinity. Today's presenter is Anthony Rusumano, founder of Mana Wellness and personal health coach for exercise, nutrition, and lifestyle. As a reminder, this webinar is being recorded, and the link to watch the presentation again will all be shared with you in a follow-up email that we sent out very soon. And if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to use the Q&A option on your panel, and we'll be more than happy to address them at the end of the webinar. Before we jump in, a quick disclaimer here. This information is for informational purposes only and is intended to provide general guidance and does not constitute medical advice. Each person's circumstances are different and may not apply to the specific information provided. You should seek the advice of a medical professional to discuss your specific needs before making any medical, dietary, or lifestyle commitments regarding the matters related to this webinar. Affinity is not affiliated nor do they endorse or recommend any of the referenced apps, websites, or companies and/or their products or services. Accordingly, Affinity takes no responsibility for the quality or reliability of the products or services offered by these apps, websites, or companies. Thank you, and take it away, Anthony.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nick. I appreciate it. And welcome on back, everyone, for webinar number 3. I'm very excited to jump into it. So we are going to be focusing on longevity today, living a long and healthy life. I feel like, I don't know if this is the same for everyone or if it's just because I'm in this space, but I feel like longevity has been a hot word, a hot topic lately, which is awesome. It's a big focus of mine and my coaching. And honestly, for me personally, it's how I approach all of my healthy life decisions. So I'm excited to jump into it. So what we'll be going through is just going through a brief overview of what longevity is. And then I really want to give you all an action item, something to take away from this webinar that you can implement into your daily life today. So let's jump straight into it. If you do have any questions, like Nick said, please put them in the Q&A, and we'll definitely get to them. So let's start with the basics. What is longevity? What does this keyword mean? Quite simply, it's the ability to live a long life. Okay, but that is actually only one part of the equation. And why I was so excited to talk about this webinar, talk about this topic in this webinar, is because yes, the goal is to live a long life, but there's two parts to that we really need to expand upon. Okay, what this is, the first part of this is what's called lifespan, right? Lifespan is how long we live. This is measured in the number of years we are, so the number on your birth certificate. We all know this, right? And our lifespan has increased significantly over time thanks to modern medicine, right? Our lifespan is continuing to increase from the 90s, from the 1800s, and again, all due to modern medicine. But what the key here is that's missing in this longevity piece is health span, how long we live in good health. And I really want to spend some time and focus on this phrase or on this word health span because what this means is it's the number of years that we live free from chronic disease, physical limitations, or cognitive decline. Right? This is where our conversation is going to focus on today. This is where the gap is that I want to fill, right? So we have lifespan that's focused on just the number of years that we live. That's great, and that has increased over the years. But health span is where we are going to really hone in on. Now, what is the problem, right? The problem here is we're living longer, but not healthier. Of course, it's a good thing that we're living longer, right? We've added decades to our lifespan, as I mentioned, over the years. But unfortunately, that longer life is where a lot of people are spending managing illness and decline. To bring some stats into it, the average life expectancy right now in the United States is 76.1 years. The average health span in the United States right now is 63.7 years. That is a 12.4-year difference, which comes out to 16% of an average American's life where they are managing chronic illness or disability. And this really hurts me. Is really sad to me. One of the big reasons, and I am so passionate about health and wellness and so focused on longevity, is because the goal isn't to live as long as possible. The goal is to live as long as possible, but as healthy as possible. All right, so taking these stats, right? What can we do with these 12.4 years, the 16% of our life? How can we get this back? All right, well, first off, what I really want to focus on is rethinking longevity. Okay? Rethinking about just living as long as possible. Right? So, again, what can we do to do this? First off, I want to break this down into what we are currently doing, the present, that is getting us to live long lives. But what is the future that is going to get us to live long, healthy lives? Okay, so that's going to be the left side, is where we are now, and then the right side is where we're going. First and foremost, what we are currently doing is we are treating disease after it occurs, after it appears, right? What we need to be doing is preventing illness altogether, preventing the disease before it starts, right? This comes down to being proactive and not reactive. Unfortunately, today we are very reactive, right? We are reacting to the symptoms that occur. We're not being proactive and preventing the symptoms before they even come. And I understand that it's very hard to do to be proactive rather than reactive because we don't know what we are trying to prevent beforehand. That's what we're going to get into, and that's what the closing of today's webinar is going to be, is that action item. But this is very key to focus on, is that we need to be proactive. Okay? What we are currently doing is we're managing symptoms primarily through medication. As I mentioned, medication and medical practice is the reason why our lifespan has increased tremendously, and we have to give a lot of kudos to that. However, another thing that we need to focus on is proactive strategies, right? Whether you are going with medication or you're trying to find a replacement for it, these proactive strategies like nutrition, exercise, sleep, mental health, metabolism, these are ways that we can be proactive, and we're going to break these down later down the road, but it's another method to longevity, to increasing our health span. Okay? Then again, what are we doing currently? Right now, we have a standardized one fits all approach. Whenever we go and try to fix that symptom or that problem, it's usually similar to someone else with the same problem. But unfortunately, what we need to focus on, and fortunately, which is exciting about the future, is it has to be personalized, right? It has to be specific to you, specific to your data, specific to your health history, rather than trying to get the same exact help that someone else got. Alrighty. And then also what else we are doing right now is we are addressing our health when it breaks down. Rather, what we should be doing is treating as a lifelong asset to protect and build. That's the key that I want, and the key takeaway after going through the present versus future. To rethink longevity, we must focus on this lifelong asset, this lifelong investment. I'm sure everyone is very, very well aware of an investment when it comes to money, right? You put money away right now because it's going to benefit you in the future. This is a very similar approach when we're thinking about longevity. We are putting away things right now to protect and build it in the future. Okay, so I want to paint this picture and show you guys a graph that I absolutely love that should help take home this message. So this is actually from one of my favorite books. It's called Outlive by Dr. Peter Attia. I would recommend it, but it is very, very sciencey. It's like a textbook. It was tough for me to read and understand, but I took the time and I absolutely love this. So I want to break it down for you all today. So what we're viewing is, ignore the data in the middle right now. We're viewing lifespan versus health span. Okay, on the left-hand side, on the y-axis, we have health span. On the bottom, on the x-axis, we have lifespan. Okay, as a reminder, health span is the quality of years, right? The good years. Lifespan is how long we live. Okay, so if we're looking at this chart, you'll see a couple of labels. You'll see the no intervention, right? That is just without any changes in your lifestyle. You'll see what Dr. Peter Attia refers to as Med 2.0 and then Med 3.0. Today, what we're going to refer to them as the future or the present and the future. Med 2.0 is the present, Med 3.0 is the future, which is what the chart we just went through. Okay, now there's a few takeaways that I want to go through here. If we're looking at just the present, Med 2.0 in this case, what you'll see here is compared to the no intervention, there is a slight increase in lifespan and health span. But if you look at the lifespan increase, there's a significant increase towards the end of it. Right? So we're seeing a more of an increase in lifespan than we are seeing an increase in health span, but there is an increase in both. Now, when we look at the future line, the Med 3.0 line, what you'll see here is a much different trend. You'll see a significant increase in health span and in lifespan, and that's the key here. Now, what's the difference here? What's the difference between Med 2.0 and Med 3.0? Well, that's everything that we just went through in this, right? The present is Med 2.0 and the future is Med 3.0. Taking this standardized, one fits all, reactive approach and transitioning to this prevention, proactive, and lifelong asset approach. Okay, so that's what we're talking about here. This is what HealthSpan is. Getting into the solution where I really want to focus on so that you all have an idea of where to go from here. Okay, so how do we close this gap? Well, it starts with the foundation, right? It starts with the habits and the things that we do every single day. It starts with the things that aren't necessarily pretty. A lot of this is are things that people don't necessarily want to hear but may need to hear it. Okay, so this solution, we may have seen this. If you're here for webinar number 1, we are bringing this back into webinar number 3. This is what we refer to as the house of well-being, right? This is the foundation of a healthier and stronger you, is what I like to say. And there's 4 pillars to the house of well-being that are keeping this foundation up. We talked about nutrition, we talked about movement and exercise, we talked about sleep, and we talked about mental health. The reasons that these are the pillars of the house of well-being is because they are, right. If you think about the house of well-being, that is synchronous with longevity. We're trying to build a house that's going to last a long time. We're trying to build a body that's going to last a long time, right? So I could rephrase the house of well-being to the house of longevity. And that is the key with these 4 pillars. So I want to just briefly break down each of these and how they relate to longevity. And then that'll make a lot more sense. So first and foremost, with nutrition, when we're talking about nutrition, we're talking about real, whole, single ingredient, unprocessed foods, right? So avoiding eating out, avoiding fast foods, avoiding packaged foods, avoiding ingredients that you may not be able to read, focusing on hydration, getting water in, getting balanced meals in, making sure you're getting fruits, veggies, high protein, healthy carbohydrates, healthy fats. All of these things play a key role in our longevity. I emphasized a lot on previous webinars that nutrition is medicine. Nutrition is prevention and is very, very important. Alongside of that is movement and exercise. Yes, it says movement here. Movement and exercise I use, yes, interchangeably, but we do separate them in a way. But in this case, let's use them interchangeably. This means moving your body as much as possible throughout the day by using a standing desk, by preventing sitting time, by going for walks. And then from the exercise standpoint, doing strength, mobility, cardiovascular exercise, all of these things that center around movement and exercise will lead to a long life. The reason for this is because the more we move our body, the stronger our body becomes. Think about it this way. The anytime we go to the gym and we do any kind of resistance training, right? We do a bicep curl. The more we do the bicep curl, the stronger we're going to get. The stronger we're going to get, the more weight we can do later down the road, right? Same thing with cardiovascular exercise. The more that we run, the better that we get with running, the faster that we can go. It's the same idea when it comes to longevity. The more that you focus on these little things, the more it'll stack up and the stronger that you will get. Okay. Now, I want to emphasize that with nutrition and movement and exercise, because when it comes to sleep and mental health, these are a little bit different, but of the utmost importance. When it comes to sleep and mental health, these aren't things that you can just do, right? With nutrition, movement, exercise, we can do it, right? We can eat the healthy meal or we can go and do the physical activity. But with sleep and mental health, yes, you can go to sleep earlier, but you just can't sleep longer just like that at a snap of a finger. These take time. And that's why these are so key when it comes to longevity, because longevity takes time as well. So when it comes to sleep, getting on a consistent schedule, sleeping in a good environment, focusing on getting all phases of sleep, setting up everything around your circle, your world, the people that you're with, so that it's going to lead to a good night's of sleep, right? This is going to allow you to have better mood, have better focus. It's going to allow your brain actually recover and recoup. Our brains go through a lot through the day, whether it's work, whether it's physically, it needs that opportunity to rest, and sleep is the only time for it to do so. So if you're not prioritizing sleep, it's not going to be able to do what you want it to do. Okay, and then when it comes to longevity, sleep is everything. Everything. There's a reason why a big portion of our day should be tailored to sleep. So the whole notion around sleep when you're dead needs to die. We do not want to focus on that. We want to sleep to prevent that. So last but definitely not least is mental health, mindfulness, relationships, and purpose. When it comes to living a long and healthy life, purpose and relationships are so important. It's what's going to keep you going. It's what's going to get you up every single morning. We need that. And this is not going to be every single day, right? Every single day, we're going to have those days where we are just not feeling it. Whether it's the Sunday scaries or the Monday blues, that's okay. But what I'm talking about is overall, right? On an average day, how are you waking up and or how are you feeling? Are you feeling energized throughout the day? Are you feeling motivated? Do you have discipline? Do you have a reason to get up? Are you building relationships? Do you have something that you're pushing through, striving for every single day? And that's where purpose really comes into play. And there's so many different ways that we can implement purpose into our lives. For me personally, because I'm in the fitness space, exercise and races and events like that is a big purpose of mine. And I compete in these races because it drives me, it pushes me forward, especially during the times where I'm not really feeling my best. Building a business, right? Health and wellness is a big purpose in my life. Changing someone's life because changing someone's life to get healthier makes me so fulfilled and is what gets me up in the morning. If I'm having a bad day, but I know that if I push through it and on the other side I can help someone get healthier, that's my purpose. And that's where you can build such a healthy mental state that can go such a long way. And this is one of the key components to longevity. Managing stress on a day-to-day level, but also on a chronic level. Chronic stress is very, very detrimental to our longevity, very detrimental to our health span, right? So, yes, nutrition, movement, exercise, and sleep are very, very key to these, but you also have to treat mental health on its own, like it's nutrition, like it's physical activity, and like it's sleep. We need to have that focus on so that it's not going to just come, it's going to be developed. Okay, so these are the four pillars of what I'll call the house of longevity, even though we went through these on the first webinar. If you want a very in-depth on each of these pillars as well, you can definitely go back and watch that recording. However, these are the things that are going to support your energy, that are going to strengthen us, that are going to allow us to focus, that are going to lead to a resilient life. So, just a quick little recap on going through everything when it comes to longevity, when it comes to health span, we must focus on health span, living the healthiest life as possible. The cool part about that is that it's also going to allow us to live the longest life as possible. But let's take that 12.4 years and let's try to decrease that as much as possible because that's where we're going to find true happiness. That's where we're going to live a life that we can look back on and be so proud. So that sums up everything I wanted to go through when it comes to longevity. I want to open up the floor for a Q&A because I know when it comes to longevity, it's a very broad term and there's a lot of aspects of it. So I would love to give some extra time to answer some of those questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Anthony. Looks like somebody already questioned here. Um, this is in pertaining to the recordings. I will be sending out tonight this recording as well as the past two as well. So you'll see that. But please, anybody else with any questions, throw them in the Q&A option and we will be more than happy to address them.
I believe we had a hand raise. I don't know if that was an accident or not.
I don't see any hands raised, but someone said excellent presentation. So
Thank
that's
you so
awesome.
much, Sharon. I appreciate that.
If no one has any questions, you could always email Anthony as well by using that
Mhm.
QR code that he has there. But we'll give it a few more minutes for any questions here.
While we wait for some questions too, I would like to add one of the key things here is uh, a lot of people assume as we age as well that they're running out of time or they may feel like it's too late. I really want to emphasize that when it comes to health span, when it comes to longevity, it is truly not too late to start. It's never too late. And the reason I say that too is because just by making changes, whether you're 60, 70, or even 80 years old, these prevention strategies have immediate changes as well. So, yes, we're talking about lifelong prevention, but getting your nutrition right, getting your movement and exercise all together, with getting your sleep and your mental health, you're going to get immediate benefits as well. So, it truly is never too late to start.
Looks like Robert has their hand raised. Robert, if you'd like to use the Q&A option for any questions you may have, please throw it in there. We'll be more happy to address them. Wait a second for Robert's question.
Mhm.
Alrighty. Well, in the effort of everybody's time, I will give everyone back a little bit more time for tonight to start the rest of their night off. But I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and being here to view this webinar. I would like to thank Anthony for taking the time out to share all that great information. And oh, we actually got a question here. How does toxic work environment affect our longevity?
Oh, I love that, Robert. Yeah, so it affects it in many ways. Few off the top of my head is I'll say the number one is stress, right? Stress management. And that goes into a couple of aspects of life, right? One, acute stress, stress in the moment. If you're dealing with stress every single day, it's going to add up and it's going to add up quickly. And then what that's going to also do is it's going to seep into your regular life, right? Your personal life with your relationships, whether that's your spouse, significant other, or your siblings, whoever. Acute stress will definitely affect your day-to-day life. It's going to lead into chronic stress. Chronic stress is Yes, stress that we will feel from time to time, but chronic stress is more of hidden stress. One that's what we like to call in the back of your head, where you don't necessarily feel it, but it's there and it's definitely having an effect. Okay, and this is again, it's gonna lead into every aspect of life. That's why I really wanted to focus on that mental health side of things and stress management in particular, because if you think about it, look, a lot of us spend the majority of our lives working, right? And the majority of our hours throughout the day working. And this kind of comes into the mental health slide. I'm gonna go back real quick. When we were talking about how purpose and living a fulfilling life is so important, because if you're in a toxic work environment, or you're just in a work environment that you don't love, or that you don't love what you're doing, it's going to be really, really hard to want to wake up in the morning and go to work. It's going to be really hard to find any purpose in that environment when you're spending the majority of your day, the majority of your life in that environment. So it's something that you really want to think about when it comes to wherever you work, or whatever your day to day is, right? You want to spend most of your time that is aligned to that overarching goal, that purpose. So find that purpose, whatever it is, and it takes time to find it, and it's going to change as well. Or find that lifetime goal and make sure that your day to day is aligned with that. And then I think that will really set up a good mental health state for longevity. So thank you for that, Robert.
All right, we have another question here. Do you recommend taking multivitamins?
So great question, Sharon. Yes and no. It depends. I would say in general, I do recommend multivitamins, but it definitely depends on the quality of the multivitamin you're taking, and then also really depends on a lot of your other health metrics as well, right? It depends on what your nutrition you are consuming. If your nutrition is high in real and whole foods like fruits, veggies, animal proteins, you name it, all the healthy foods, well, you're going to be getting a lot of micronutrients, a lot of vitamins and minerals. So you might not necessarily need a multivitamin. If it's not quite where you want it to be, then and you're not getting the nutrients from those real foods, then there's an argument to be said there. The key thing to note in with a multivitamin as well is it's a multivitamin, right? So there's many vitamins, many minerals. You may be only deficient, or you may be sufficient in some and not the others. So what I would recommend is, before you do so, number one, really focus on these four pillars right here. Get those under control before you even try supplementation. Then you can supplement like a multivitamin to supplement that already healthy lifestyle that you are living. That would then come into a multivitamin, would where my first recommendation would be, because a multivitamin is very, very important. So I would first take a step back, do a little self-analyzation, and then kind of make that decision from there.
Awesome. Got another one here. What are some of the things to do when you can't sleep?
Great question, Robert. Oh, such a tough one. Because some of the most common reasons that people aren't sleeping is overthinking. I think overthinking is a big one, whether that's overthinking work, overthinking life, stress, like some stressful event that's coming into play, or coming into your day. So when it comes to the overthinking side of things, I want to touch on that first. This is really hard. And honestly, there is no answer, Robert. It's going to be more of finding something that works really well for you. I know some of my clients, some of the people that I've worked with, picking up a book has been really good for them. Taking a walk around the house has been good for them. Changing around their environment. Some people will do some breathing practices. Again, it would be coming up with a variety of things and testing them and seeing if they work for you. What I will say, what I would recommend not doing, I would recommend not getting on any devices, right? No screens, because that's going to actually cause blue light to go into your eyes, which is going to wake you up. I would avoid any artificial light. So turning on any lights in your bedroom or your bathroom or in your house, that's going to wake you up as well. And then any other brain stimulating things is where you really want to avoid. The other thing that I'll add to is you really want to focus on your sleep environment, right? Sleeping in a cool, dark, and restful environment. So there's a bunch of things when it comes to sleep that are very important. But in terms of going back to sleep, I would really try to one, don't focus on not doing the things that I mentioned, but then just testing out a bunch of things and seeing what works. And I'll say personally, what works for me the most is breathing exercises.
Awesome. Another one here. Could you please give advice for vegetarians?
Um, yes, so very broad, of course. I have a lot of advice for vegetarians. When it comes to longevity, which is, I assume, what the question is focused on, um, because vegetarians are not getting what's called the essential amino acids, which are these essential building blocks of what proteins are, you have to take a different approach to your nutrition. Um, when when it comes to that, what you really want to focus on is getting every single variety of vegetable proteins that you can get. Some of the best ones are going to be like tofu, tempeh, edamame, and there's a bunch of other ones. But I would say my biggest piece of advice, even though there is unlimited, would be to make sure that you are getting what's called all of your essential amino acids, your EAAs, and that's going to be through protein sources. So if you can reach out to me. I can definitely help you get started. Or you can also look up what some of those foods are.
Another one here. Is there a relationship between financial wellness and longevity?
Robert, I love that question. So absolutely. So I can speak less on the financial side of things, but two things that I want to emphasize. One, the way I look at it is I look at longevity and health as an investment, just like I was saying in the webinar, where I am willing to spend extra money for the healthier organic foods because I know there will be a return in the long run. Now, that is very, very hard, right? Because we're spending money up front for a benefit later down the road. But that's very similar to any retirement investment that we do or anything like that where we're putting money down now for the future. And the second part that I want to add to it is I actually have a really cool analogy when it comes to health, and it's in the case of finances, which is a mutual fund. So if you think of a mutual fund, just a fund of stocks, right? And how this relates to nutrition and health is, well, our health, our longevity is a mutual fund as well. And we have a bunch of stocks in that mutual fund, right? We have nutrition, we have movement, we have exercise, we have sleep, we have mental health. All of these are going to determine whether the mutual fund increases or decreases. But just because one of those stocks decrease doesn't mean the entire fund is down. So something to think about is don't think that you have to do absolutely every single pillar every single day. That's not the case, right? We want to, on average, have the majority of our pillars, the majority of our stocks going in the right direction, which means our fund will be going in the right direction. So it's one of my favorite analogies that I wanted to, once you brought up the combination of finances and longevity that I wanted to touch on.
Next one here. Can weight loss pills ensure us to lose weight?
Mm, great question. So when it comes to health, first and foremost, there are definitely no absolutes, and I definitely don't like to speak in absolutes. We are seeing in research that these weight loss pills are leading to weight loss, but there's a key thing there. It's weight loss. And what weight loss encompasses, it means bone, muscle, and fat, right? That's when we refer to weight, we're referring to muscle mass, bone mineral density, and fat mass. Well, what we've been seeing with these weight loss pills is yes, they are allowing people to lose weight, but the weight that they're primarily losing is muscle and bone. And that is the weight we do not want to lose. The weight we want to lose is fat mass. We want to maintain as much bone density as possible because we peak at a certain age around 30 years old. And from there, it's a steady decline. And we're trying to prevent that decline as much as possible. With muscle mass as we age is very, very hard to increase. You can increase, but it's going to take some lifestyle interventions like resistance training and strength training. So, yes, will cause you to lose weight, Yes, but what kind of weight is the true question. If you're taking the weight loss, if you're taking the pills, the weight loss pills, and you are eating the right foods, right, real and whole foods, you're exercising and moving your body and doing resistance training, cardiovascular activity, you're getting sleep and you're focusing on your mental health, right? You're still focusing on the habits that anyone else would focus on, and then just using the pill as an alternative, then I would say that that might be a better direction. But I always want to emphasize that point and that difference when it comes to weight loss and those pills.
What is your opinion about intermittent fasting?
Great question, Angeline. So, one, it depends on the person. Personally, I've done not intermittent fasting, more scheduled eating, which is like a eating window versus a fasting window. So the common one is 16 to 8. You have 12, 12. You can really come up with your own. But here's what I'll say. So yes, I've done that eating window and I enjoyed it. I loved it. I stopped doing it because I started doing more physical activity and training for events and it didn't fit in my schedule, which is a good example of why it definitely does depend. Um, but what I'll say is don't focus on any of those specific diets or anything like that until you are primarily eating whole and real food. Focus on food quality first. If your food quality, if you can genuinely say that your food quality is where it should be, then that's where you can get into the extra like intermittent fasting or maybe some diets, testing them out and seeing if they work for you. But to answer your question, yes, there is research that shows that it works, but it's very, very person dependent.
All right. Any more questions for tonight?
Glad this picked up. That was awesome.
Yeah. And if you don't have any questions tonight, the good thing is our next webinar on May 27th is open conversation. So you can bring all your amazing questions there, and Anthony will be more than happy to address them then. But we'll close out for tonight. Thank you all for joining, and thank you so much, Anthony, for sharing all that great information. Anthony, if you have any final closing out words.
Yeah, so I appreciate everyone joining. I will see you guys in the next webinar. In between then, if you do want to reach out to me, you can scan this QR code. You can also email me. My email is anthonyrussimano@monowellness.co. But I would love to answer any questions. I would love to kind of explain what we offer, what we do. I am a health and wellness nerd, so any question is valid, and I would love to help everyone out.
Perfect. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your night, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.